everybody, here's video 2 in this playlist looking at the Constitution, giving you all a really quick 10-cent tour of this document. You might want to go ahead and grab your notes so you can take a little peek at the Constitution in your class guide, right? That's going to be something you can utilize here and kind of see how this whole thing works. So, starting off, let's talk about this document itself, okay? When it was made in 1787, written, 55 dudes all got together in Philadelphia. And here's a famous painting of them that was done on a scene, whatever. It's kind of a who's, you will, of U.S. history. So you have George Washington and Ben Franklin, John Adams, Alexander Hamilton, star of stage, screen, and musical, all that kind of stuff. Okay, James Madison, who Madison, Wisconsin is named after. Future presidents were there, all that, okay? One guy not there, Thomas Jefferson, not present. Also not a big fan of the Constitution, okay? They talk about all these different things, all these different ideas, okay? James Madison, all 5'6", 95 pounds of himself, was a secretary and wrote down all the information from the Constitution, eventually put it together in a document. In a way, James Madison is the writer of the U.S. Constitution. And so when they wrote it, they decided to break it down. They organized it into some different sections. And the first section is called the preamble, essentially saying, what does this document mean? What is our goal? What are we trying to do? And so it talks about we the people of the United States, now meaning all citizens. Of course, back then, not all citizens, right? It was only white guys over age 21 who owned property. But today it means all citizens. They said in order to form a more perfect union, make our country as good and perfect as possible. We're going to establish justice, make sure everything's fair for everybody. Ensure domestic tranquility. Promise that we're going to have a nice, peaceful country. We're not fighting each other all the time. We're going to provide for the common defense. We're going to protect everybody, okay, from dangers foreign and domestic. We're going to promote the general welfare, so care for those who are in need. We're going to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Yeah, it sounds kind of weird, right? Basically, make sure these freedoms continue on for them, their kids, kids, every generation going forth. And then we say we ordain and establish this Constitution. Basically, we approve this document. Now, could they actually do this? Questionable. They're kind of like committing treason right now, and they wrote this document with the idea that eventually the states will say, yeah, we like it. Anyway, so here's our Constitution all put together. You have 7 articles. Think of articles as chapters. Don't think of them necessarily as like I read an article for English class, right? You have amendments. You have 27 additions to the Constitution, what amendment means, and that is kind of like just the things they add on to the Constitution, fixes they make, changes, etc. The first 10 being the Bill of Rights, which we'll get into for your next video. So here's a real quick tour, okay? Feel free to mark up your Constitution as you go, that kind of stuff. Article 1 is all about Congress, right? We have a House and a Senate, how old you got to be, the requirements, all that kind of stuff. Do you get paid, not paid? 2 big sections of this we have to know about are sections 8 and 9. Section 8 is all about what Congress can make laws about. Section 9 is what they cannot make laws about. And so it literally writes it down in like depth, right, of what they can and cannot make laws about. One little part of Section 8, the last phrase, is something called the elastic clause or the necessary and proper clause, saying they can make laws about anything they want to make laws about. Some people didn't like that idea, okay? Article 2, all about the president. So again, requirements to be president. They explain electoral college or how the president's elected, and they kind of outline some of the jobs of president, but not really. Things like execute laws, whatever that means. Be commander-in-chief, appoint people. But not a lot of guidance on that, okay? That job has gotten a lot bigger as time's gone on. You notice, Article 1, longest article by far. Article 2, shorter. Article 3, even shorter yet. We're going to make a Supreme Court. Here are the requirements for Supreme Court. We'll say a few things what they can make about and talk about treason. That's really about it. Okay, treason being like when you fight your own country. Then Article 4 gets some more confusing things, all right? Article 4 is all about how the states get along. So essentially acknowledging that states will have different laws, and they have to respect each other's laws, respect each other's decisions, respect each other's contracts. For example, if I get married in Florida, I'm also married in Wisconsin. If I get divorced in Wisconsin, I'm also divorced in Florida, that kind of thing. Also talks about extradition. So if I commit a crime in one state, will the other states send me back to my home state for my trial? That kind of thing. After that, they're like, you know what? This document's not perfect, so we got to find a way to make sure we can make changes. They put in what's called the amendment clause, basically that the Constitution can be amended or changed through a specific process. And it's not the document's not perfect, right? They've made 27 changes to it, the first 10 right away, and then 17 more after that from 1800 on to today. The last amendment was approved in 1992. A lot of these are about voting, a lot of these are about civil rights, a few things like that in there, okay? Now we have Article 6, which is our supremacy clause. The big question is if a state and federal law are different, which one you got to follow? Let's say Wisconsin legalizes marijuana, but federally marijuana is illegal. Which law do you got to follow? Basically it says you got to follow the federal law. Lastly is ratification. Ratification means the states agreed to it. Originally, only 9 of the 13 states had to agree. It was mostly hotly debated in New York, but Virginia kind of snuck in and was the 9th state to make it a deal. 3 big clauses we have to know here, okay? 3 big kind of phrases. These come up from our different sections in here. One section is called the Free Faith Clause. This is in section Article 4, basically saying that states have to honor each other's marriages, contracts, court decisions, all that kind of stuff. In Article 1, you have the necessary and proper clause, also called the elastic clause. Congress can do anything necessary and proper to fulfill its express powers. So the express powers are listed in Article 1, Section 8. For example, it says they can make an Army and Navy. Well, that means you can make Army and Navy bases. You can do all that kind of stuff, right? You have a draft, etc. And lastly, your supremacy clause. So if state and federal disagree, you got to follow the federal one. All right, guys, that's a little tour of the Constitution. We're getting to the Bill of Rights next. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it.